Hello everyone, welcome back. So today I'm going to be talking about why your depositor of your sun sign is actually really the most important thing that you need to see in your chart. Like because a lot of us, when we're just new to astrology, are quite captivated by reading about our sun sign and the qualities that it has, and we associate that with ourselves and generally intrigued by how something on the internet or on some book is able to tell so much about our identity, you can say. And a lot of people do get in that way into astrology, and that's really beautiful. So, yeah, it's probably the way I got in as well. Yeah, but what we need to see to get a little bit more deeper understanding of your sun sign is about the depositor. Now, what does that actually mean? Now, unless you're a Leo sun, okay? For a Leo sun, this video is not relevant because the depositor is the sun in Leo. So Leo is the depositor. So it's kind of not relevant, though in advanced astrology it is relevant because you need to see, like as you grow up, as uh, as you become an adult, like in your adult chart, where does that show up? If it's still in Leo, if your sun is still in Leo, or like you can also see it in your professional chart, like what happens when you enter into the realm of profession, what happens when you enter the realm of partnerships, like where does the sun go? Is it still there or is it somewhere else? So the depositor actually determines the strength and the energy flow of yourself, your vitality, of your ego, of your very soul as well, because the sun is the soul, and where it lies really has so much to say, right, about things. So without further ado, let's get on with it. And for the purpose of these videos, I'm kind of using my own birth chart till the time someone volunteers and comes up and shows their own, or wants some other chart read. But yeah, I'm just doing that so that it's easier for you to follow as well, because it's easier to talk with a chart than blubber in thin air, isn't it? So yeah, so I'm just going to pull out my chart and I'm going to show you how you actually figure out a depositor and what does it exactly even mean. Okay, so here we go. Solo myself. Get in here. That's my good old birth chart. See how pretty it is. That's how pretty charts are. Yeah, I love charts. So yeah. So yes, when I do zoom in here, I think you can see that, yeah, out here is where my sun is in the sign of Sagittarius. Out on the leftmost corner, yeah, yeah. You see that the sun is in Sagittarius. So how do you figure out the depositor? Now, you're going to have your sun in any of these signs, right? Like, you're just going to have it probably in Scorpio or Libra or wherever your sun is placed. Now, what you need to see is your sun is in this sign, okay? Is in the sign. That is, the outside part is the sign. Now, this arrow, it just means Sagittarius. You could pull out a wheel next to yourself and you'll have all the signs written down for yourself. So that's Sagittarius, sun in Sagittarius. Now, who rules Sagittarius is how you figure out what the depositor is. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Okay, so I need to now see where's my Jupiter. Here's my Jupiter. Yeah, here's my Jupiter, and it's in the sign of Libra, the green thing here. That's Libra. So now what happens is that my sun, when it's placed in Sagittarius, it shines to the world as a Sagittarian. Yes, it does do that. But the foundation on which it's sitting, it's leading its energy somewhere else. So Sun is sitting in Sagittarius, but Sagittarius is actually somebody else's house. Okay, and whose house is it? It's Jupiter's house. So now that's why I track myself to Jupiter. Now when I come to Jupiter, I need to see like where is that sitting? Okay, it's sitting in Libra. So Libra is somebody else's house as well. It's Venus's house. So now I come down and try to figure out where Venus is. There you go. That's Venus in green. I'll zoom in maybe. That's Venus in green, and Venus is sitting in Capricorn. Now Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Now we see where Saturn is placed. There you go. That's Saturn. Now Saturn is now placed in Aquarius. And Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. So now the chain is over. The depositor chain is over. Because finally we found one planet which is actually comfortable in its own house. Like when we do this chain, we realize that the final link of the energies leads us to Saturn and Aquarius, where we finally find a planet which is not sitting in somebody else's house. Now, why and how does this become relevant? Now, let me break it down in a way that, say, for example, you're living in a rented house and you end up paying rent, right, to whoever you've signed the contract with. And you happen to realize that the person that you're paying the rent to doesn't actually own the house themselves. And then the person, so the money that's going to that person who's actually renting you is actually subletting it. So when you try to track the money down, or like where your actual money goes, that is what, like you're trying to see like where our actual sun's energy is going, or like where is the actual foundation, what's the root of it all, right? That's what the depositor actually means. You're trying to find like who owns the house, basically, like who's the final or the eventual landlord in this chain. Okay, so you are basically living in a rented house which has been sublet by someone else. Now let me do it in the sign order itself. So okay, I, the sun in Sagittarius and living in Sagittarian house. So I think Sagittarius owns the rented house that I live in, but it's actually not true. Okay, there's something called as Jupiter, and that Jupiter is ending up sitting in Libra. So that means that the money is going to another subletter, going to Libra, and from there the money is going back to another subletter, and that is Venus sitting in Capricorn, and then the money is going back to another subletter. And finally, when we finish this chain, we end up reaching Saturn in Aquarius, who is actually the real landlord, who's the one who created all these chains, or you can say is the originator of the chains. So even though my sun sign is Sagittarius, even though I shine to the world as a Sagittarian, even though those are the qualities that I associate with, the Saturn in Aquarius is the landlord, is the one who owns the energy field. Now, what does that mean? That means that, I'll get back to the chart. That kind of means that within this whole matrix, as you see, like once you're getting into proper astrology or getting a little bit more advanced or serious, you see all these lines going on, right? So these lines are basically talking about how the energies are responding with each other. So there is not one simple answer to this is my sun sign, and that's how I shine. Now, you remember in the beginning of the video, I said that this is not relevant for Leos. That is because the sun in Leo is sitting in its own house. So it's just the end of the story. There's no renting business going on at all. It's just that you are living in your house that you own. That's about it. End of the story. Doesn't go further. But here, if for all the other 11 sun signs other than Leo, there is going to be a depositor chain, a chain of energies which go from one sign to the other. And as they're crossing all this, you also need to see what are they getting influenced by. While that is not extremely important, the most important thing is where do they finally reside in. For me, it resides in Aquarius. Okay, Saturn in Aquarius, because Saturn rules Aquarius, it resides here. So though my sun is shining here in the first house, the actual foundation of that sun comes from Saturn in Aquarius in the third house. So though my sun represents being in the first house, it represents, or like it's extremely close to the first house, if you can see, like it's 16 degrees at Sagittarius, and yeah, my not that, yeah, it's like 3 degrees away. It's 2.58 degrees away actually from the ascendant. This is 16, and the sun is at the ascendant is 16 degrees, and the sun is at 1344. So that's 2 degrees and 26 minutes. Yeah, so that's 226 away. That's almost considered as first house. Anything under like 3 to 5 degrees is considered as the opposite sign, as the other sign, because the energy is already almost gone there. So with the sun on the ascendant, you're generally seen as yeah, your self, or what you project to the world is out in the world. It's when people meet you, they meet you exactly in the first house. That's where they're meeting you. Wherever your sun is where kind of people see you express it. And here on the ascendant, people see it on the ascendant itself when they meet. But if I were to just go on that, I would miss out a huge chunk of actual real information and wisdom that's hidden in it. Though this is the way people meet me, that is my sun, they are actually experiencing me or you in your chart by seeing the third house, by seeing the Saturn in Aquarius. So even though they're meeting me and they're meeting my, what would you call us, in the first house personality, they are actually meeting my skills, my fingers. That means something I do with my fingers. Could be writing. Me as a guitar player, you could say that as well. Anything to do with your fingers, because third house is also the house of Gemini, of communication. Yeah, it's also the house ruled by Mercury originally. So it has to do with writing and stuff. So when people are meeting me, they are actually experiencing some, they're experiencing the personality, but it is being driven by, or it's been, you can say, owned by a certain skill set, related to Saturn in Aquarius, which means it'll be Aquarian in nature. The skill set will be Aquarian in nature, means it will be avant-garde in nature, or futuristic, or visionary, or different, or eclectic, or just simply weird in nature. But it'll have to do something to do with fingers or communication, something to do with that skill that I possess. So this is the way you kind of figure out your chart depositor. So here, even though the sun is shining from first, you are literally operating from the third house here, Saturn in Aquarius. This is the big guy. This is the big guy in this chart. And when you start to draw depositors for each and every one of your so-called planets and houses, you start to see something more. You start to see is that who is the actual landlord, who's the person that owns that area of your life, and that will give you serious insight into where you are supposed to be looking for these kinds of things. Now, I'll keep a second part for this. I think it'll get very long. In the second part, we'll kind of get into some of the advanced stuff. That is, now, that's my, yeah, right? Like, that's my birth chart, okay? That's my birth chart. So that's, and yeah, it could be, yeah, your birth chart as well. Now, what happens when this plays out in your adult chart. That is when you grow up. That's also the chart of your relationships. That's also the chart of your partnerships, the ninth harmonic. What happens when that plays out on your 10th harmonic? That's your professional or your career life. Now, how do we track the sun here? As you can see in both those charts, the sun went in very different places. It went in very different places. So now, even though your birth chart is saying something, when you're out in the professional realm, people are looking at it very differently. People are experiencing you very differently. In your partnerships, your partner or your business, yeah, it could be your romantic partner or your business partner or your or someone you're fighting with in a boxing ring. Even that is denoted by this seventh house. So yeah, yeah. So when they are experiencing you, they are experiencing you on a very different level. They're experiencing you with the sun in a very different place. So hence, I wanted to say that this goes much deeper, and I'd like to do it in episode number 2 of this, or part number 2 of this, so that we could go a little bit more deeper into how different people experience you and how you show up in different circumstances in life, whether it's partnerships, whether it's profession, whether it's your creative pursuits, or whether it's your spiritual orientation, or whether it's in business. Where are people meeting you, your sun, and how are you showing up for that, and how are you experiencing yourself in all these different realms of life? Because the way you experience yourself in relationships is not the same way you experience yourself in a professional front. It's not the same way you experience yourself in a spiritual endeavor. So extremely important to see how that turns out. So let's do that in the next episode, because we can go in much detail on that one. So catch you later. Take care.